Thank you for tuning in to Jamie TV. Today I'm going to show you how to use LK from Imaginando as a digital audio workstation for iOS inside of AUM with a little bit of support from EG Pulse. So, no pissy panting about, let's have a quick listen to a snippet of a track that I just finished making using this workflow. When Imaginando first conceived of LK, it was designed to be a controller for an iOS device to be integrated in a desktop-based Ableton Live workflow, but since then its functionality has grown extensively, and for me to try and make a video about everything that it does would just take too many beards. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to focus on the functionality that it has that would enable you to use it inside of AUM as a replacement digital audio workstation. But you might say, well, Jamie, why not just use a DAW? There's plenty available now on iOS, and that's true, but to be honest, for me, all of them are just a little bit flawed in one way or another. They all are great in their own way, they all bring some fantastic functionality to the table, but they're all just a little bit disappointing for one reason or another. So, like many other musicians, I've been drawn to AUM to try to use that instead of any of the digital audio workstations. And if I'm honest, I think if it wasn't for AUM, a lot of musicians would have already given up on iOS as being a platform for music. So, I've used LK and I've made a track with it. I've done a deep dive into how all of it works, and I'm going to give you a good insight in this video of how this workflow works. I'm not going into every last little detail because this is an extensive piece of software, but I'm going to give you a good idea of how this works so that you can decide whether this is something that might appeal to you. This is the project I've been working on. It's an instrumental, but it has numerous sections and has very much a traditional song type of arrangement, in that it has an introduction, a verse, chorus, breakdown, chorus, key change, and outro. I think of the sections in this way, even though there is no vocal. This type of arrangement can be very difficult to achieve in AUM, and this is what I'm using LK to do. You'll notice that rather than looking like a traditional digital audio workstation, it has more of a clip launcher type of layout, but it can be used to play through all of the sections of the arrangement without me needing to launch the clips one by one. If you're familiar with Chord Gadget, you'll recognize the type of workflow. LK doesn't host any audio, but I'm successfully using it to launch audio clips which are hosted by EG Pulse. I'm going to start a little project from scratch now to show you how all of this works. So here we are in a fresh AUM project. Ignore this channel, this is just the microphone I'm speaking to you on. We'll go here, go to MIDI, and we need to add LK by Imaginando. Over here we have a blank track ready for our first instrument to be added, and we'll add more instruments across the page here, and at this side we have the master strip. This is where we launch the scenes from. Now, as this little square here is already highlighted, if I pull up from the bottom of the screen, you'll see we have a piano roll ready for us to add some notes for our first instrument. So before we do that, let's come out of here and go and add Ruse Maker for some drums. And then what I'm going to do is, Ruse Maker always plays pretty loud. I'm just going to pull down on the volume a little there. Right, now we'll go back to LK, and I'm going to go to this tab here. Now this little icon here, what this stands for is information relating to this piano roll. And if I go to keyboard here, there are some keyboard layouts already programmed in for you here. And if we just go down this list, we have a special layout for RuseMaker. Now you may be aware that RuseMaker's default is not general MIDI, although you can set it to that. But seeing as how we've got a layout set out especially for us, let's just go to RuseMaker, and then let's add a kick, and let's see, something like this. Now we'll press play. Of course we're not going to hear anything yet, but I just want to show you a couple of things. Now if I press this little MIDI icon here, you'll see that this is MIDI channel 1. So now I go back to RuseMaker, click on the little burger icon and tell it to listen to LK, and then I'm just gonna switch off all my MIDI channels and put channel 1 back on. There we go. Okay, so now LK is talking to RuseMaker. We'll pull this up from the bottom of the screen and let's just add some more drum sounds. Okay, that's not too sucky. Now the next thing, let me just stop this while I'm talking to you. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to clip properties, and drums are red, so let's select red here, and then we're going to name this drums. Don't know why I did that with the mouse, because it's way quicker to type on the screen. Okay, drums, and there you'll see we have a part that is labeled drums and is coloured red. It's good to label things, and it's good to keep things always the same colour, I find. Now I can launch that from this side. I can stop it here. I can simply launch it by clicking on the square, and I can stop it here. Now I've decided I'm going to start this track with drums, but I don't want them to be quite so full of pattern as I've just programmed in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click over here and add a scene, and then I'm going to copy this drum part which I've accidentally made play, go to this square here and paste it in there, and then I'm going to go back to the original one, properties, does the same thing as dragging up from the bottom, and let's just lose all the hats. Now I'm going to want 2 bars of this, and I want the second bar to be different. So if I just go down here in clip properties and go ×2, it'll give me 2 bars worth of what I've already programmed in. And let's say add an extra snare there, and let's, on the first bar, we'll add a snare just here. Let's have a listen to that. Okay, I like that, that'll do for me. So now if I come out of there and launch my first scene, now this will play round and round until I tell it to go somewhere else. So I'm now going to click on my second scene, and that will loop until I stop it. Now it is possible to make all the scenes flow from one to the next without you having to launch the clips. I will show you that later on. So let's crack on now and add another instrument. If I come down to master here and press there, I can add another track, and if I just press this, you'll see that that is now by default MIDI channel 2. let's come out of here and go and add another instrument. I'm going to do something I've not yet tried in LK. I'm going to use segments, so let's set that up right away. We need to receive MIDI information from LK, and we need that to be on MIDI channel 2. Now we go back to LK, and we need to add a piano roll here, and let's go with a bright green. Alright, now if I'm going to control segments with my keyboard, I'm going to need to get MIDI into LK. So I'm going to come out of here, go to the little burger icon next to LK and select iTrack Dock Input 1. This interface is almost deceased and I really hope my new one comes soon. Okay, now we'll go back into LK. I'm playing my keyboard, I'm getting nothing, and then I need to activate here, and there you'll hear a very silly sound that I've come up with in segments. Now I've got that instrument set up, so I'm coming back out of here, back to LK. Now I'm not ready to play anything in yet with that, because I'm going to do a little melody line with that. So let's now add an instrument that's going to give us some chords. I think we should have Audio Kits Mark 1. So that's going to be receiving MIDI information from LK on MIDI channel 3. And we go back to LK now. And we add another track. Now I'm going to take this opportunity to show you the Chorder. So we go over here, select the Chorder, and if I just press one of these pads here, you'll hear that the Chorder is actually sending information to Rusemaker. So I'll go up here and I change my channel to channel 3 for the piano, and now we can press one of these pads and send a chord to Mark 1. So now I'm going to drag up from the bottom, and I can select various options here to help me with the chords for my project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off major and suspended chords here, which are highlighted for some reason, and I just want my minor chords. Now I'm going to take the octave up. There, that's much more suitable. And let's just see what we can come up with these chords. I wouldn't normally use this kind of thing, but actually in the project that you heard at the beginning of this video, I used this and I came up with a piano part that I wouldn't normally have come up with anything like that. You know, sometimes by using a different kind of interface, we become creative in a way that we normally wouldn't be. So that's all good. In fact, actually, while we're doing this, let's just pop back to the Matrix, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sync the Matrix to AUM. So at the moment, if I press play in AUM, it's not doing anything. But if I click here, now the Matrix will behave in according to instruction from AUM. So now what I'll do, I select the first scene. That's just making sure that when we press play in AUM, we start from the start. Now I can press play up here. There we go. Now what I want to do is play along to the drums from my second scene. Actually, I forgot to remove those hi-hats from the drums. I'll do that later. Okay, back to the Chorder. Let's just do this, and then I can see all the chords available to me. And now I can have a little jam with the chords. Okay, so I've just had a little jam around with the Chorder, not come up with anything very special at all, but before I record this very unspecial piano part, I need to just set everything up in the Matrix ready to record. So I'm going to need a part, so I'll add a part, and in clip properties here I want to say ×2, so that turns the 1 bar into 2, and then ×2 again. I've now got 4 bars to record in. So we'll come out of there. I need to arm this track, and I need to tell this track that we're listening to the Chorder. Now I press record down here, I believe, and we need to set scene 2 going, so we'll select scene 2. Didn't mean to do that. Select scene 2, press play, go to the Chorder, fingers on screen because the mouse is double triggering. That sucked. So let's learn something from that. We'll go back to the part, go to Note Tools. I should be doing this with my mouse so you can see it. Note Tools, select all, delete all, because that sucked. Okay, we've still got record activated, so I'm just going to go back to my Chorder. Okay, let's give that another try. 2, 3. Okay, pretty simple, but it'll serve for a demo. Right, back to the Matrix. Let's just have a look at that part in here. Little pinch. Apparently pianos are orange. Right, let's take those record buttons off, and I think we can change this Chorder back to LK input. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this scene, and on the third scene the bass is going to come in. So let's now add another track. So we're going to need a bass instrument, so let's use Troublemaker. Alright, Troublemaker is receiving MIDI information from LK on channel 4, back to LK, and then into here. Let's create a part. Okay, let's pinch and zoom a little closer in. Here we go. Right, now to enter a note, I'm simply going to tap on where I want the note, and then I want my next note to be a bit longer, so I'm going to press on it and drag it out, and let's just hear that. Oh, wrong play. This play up here. I think I need a D about here. Oh, about there, I think. I can delete them by simply tapping on them again. Right, now it sounds like the keyboard's a bit early there actually. I forgot to quantize the piano. Yeah, it is. Right, let's make this a longer note. Yeah, it's early that. We'll sort that out in a moment. Right, let's have a little line here. Maybe there. Oh no. Try an F. Right, okay. Now I only need these 2 bars of this. So what I'm going to do is go to Clip Properties and press Divide by 2. Let me do that with the mouse so you can see it. There. Okay. Let's sort that piano out. just press pause for a minute so you can hear me better. Now, I want to move to the next part along, because it goes drums, then it goes segments, then it's piano, then it's bass. So if I press this button here, that will take me to the next instrument along, straight into the pattern editor, and there you can see that that chord is early. So I'm going to press on the screen, drag, select those 3 notes, zoom in a little bit so it's a bit easier to get hold of, and then just drag it to the right, and that should now be in time. And also, to be honest, all I'm doing here is repeating the same. Is that one early as well? That one's early as well. Let's do that one. All I'm doing here is I'm repeating the same 3 chords, but I want, but I want to, oh dear, not very good at clicking and dragging whilst talking. I want to leave, press undo, it's down here. Oh, I should have, hang on, use the mouse so they can see. There we are, there's your undo and redo. And now I'm gonna zoom in, so this is a bit easier to do. Get rid of that bogus note there, click and drag it back. Okay, now it's in time. Now the reason that I've left this as 4 bars, even though I only really need 2 because I'm just repeating the same chords, it's because I want to show you this here in the Matrix. Let me just press this button and make this screen a little less cluttered. Now, when I press play in AUM, because we're host synced, you will see that these instruments are progressing at different speeds. Let me knock that bass down a bit. Okay, so the bass is only 2 bars, so this is progressing much quicker. The piano is 4 bars. Segments has no information in it yet, so that's 1 bar. And the drums, that's 4 bars too. So you see that they're all progressing at different rates, but you can see how they sync up as well. Alright then, okay, so we've got drums, we've got segments with no information in yet, and we've got bass. So maybe when the bass comes in here, segments could come in also at the same time. So I'm just going to put some information into segments, and then I'll be back with you in a moment to show you some more stuff. Now some of my playing was just ever so slightly out of time there, so let's go to select all in Note Tools, and we're going to quantize this. Let's do it wrong first. We'll set it to quarter notes and press quantize, and there you'll see it's now completely wrong. So we'll undo and go back to 16th notes and press quantize, and that should now be about right. Now I've also got, let me just unselect, there we go, I'm going to zoom in. I've also got a bogus little note here. Now if we want to delete a note, we just drag and select, and then we can tap on it. If we want to delete a note, we can drag and select and zoom in closer so that we hit the actual note, and do that. Now let's go back to the Matrix. Okay, now I'm going to just let this play a moment and just adjust my volumes. Okay, that's not bad for now, just for a demo. Right then, so now I want to show you how we can automate something. So let's go down to the bottom of the piano roll for segments and drag that up. Now, actually, let me just make this a bit smaller so we can see some notes. Right, there we go. Now if I press select all, you'll see here I've got velocities for each of the notes, and if I want to adjust the volume of a note, I can simply select it and then I can drag its velocity up and down, which is pretty cool. And we can also do probability of notes if we wish. What I want to do is to add a filter to segments, so I'm going to add a lane of automation. And I can select different kinds of automation here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the very bottom here and select parameter 127. It's just a number that makes me feel like what I'm adding to a project is kind of keeping things out of the way. So there's my new automation lane. And before I start adding anything there, I'm going to need a filter for segments. So let's just grab one here and we'll use a high pass filter. Now if I go down here and click and go into the little mixing desk type icon there, I can find the high pass filter and click on the frequency, and I can change that to MIDI channel 2, and we want CC 127. Right, now I want to go back to LK and I'm going to draw in some automation. So let's just do something random to begin with and just see if it's working. That's kind of all over the place. Never mind, let's see if it's working. There, it's working. See that? Okay, now it's rubbish, but it's working. So now I'm going to draw in something a bit more sensible, and then I'll be back. Let's see what it sounds like. Alright, that doesn't sound too bad. So the way that this works is quite simple. If you want to dial in some automation, in fact, I'll get rid of this, and then I can, if I press this, look, this is my eraser. I'll just erase all these points, and there. This is really difficult with a mouse for some reason. There, okay. So this is my tool to draw, and I simply click on a starting point and then select my next point, and it draws me a line, and so on and so on. I think my mouse is drunk again, and so on. I want that one to go a bit further up. Just delete that. Oh, there we go. Right, and that is how automation is done inside of LK. Okay, I've just been and done a little bit of mixing and playing around with some of my sounds, and I hope that the track sounds a bit better now. But I just want to show you a few things now about the Matrix as a clip launcher, because some people will not be familiar with how this kind of workflow works. So we're hosted in AUM, so if I press play up here, whatever scene is selected will play. Now this scene is selected at the moment, so that one will play. But if I select these drums, they will then join that scene. I can then select a different scene. Now you'll hear that I've got my drums in the wrong place. I'm going to correct that in a moment. Also, my piano here is out of time because I quantized this one. So let's correct a few things. We're going to delete this just by clicking, and then we get a drop down list and I select delete, and then I can copy this one and I will paste it here. There we go. Right, now if I delete these drums and I copy these drums and paste them here, and then I want to delete this one and then copy this one, paste it here, and then delete this, copy this one and pop it here. Okay, so from that I think you can see the potential of a clip launcher, because what you can do is you could have a scene and have that playing back, but then you might be like, well, what I'd like is I'd like this scene, but I'd like to swap out for, say, this drum part, or you know, another part on another track. That sort of thing. Very, very simple example, but I think you can see the potential of it from there. Now I could continue adding instruments and sections to this track, but I only need to make a small arrangement to show you how this all works. So let's now look at how we can include real audio in an LK project. For the track you heard at the beginning of this video, my intention was to record guitars in MultiTrack by 4Pockets. But this didn't work because when I launched different clips in LK, MultiTrack couldn't tell whereabouts in the timeline it needed to be. So in AUM, I did a stereo mixdown of the project and exported it to Cubasis 3, where I recorded the guitars, and I then chopped the guitars up into sections and dropped them into EG Pulse so that I could trigger different guitar parts with MIDI notes in LK. That works like this. So the main instance of EG Pulse is here. Now EG Pulse has 16 output buses available, and I'm just using 2 of them here so that I can have a track to mix guitar 1, guitar 2 and lead guitar over here. Just makes it a little bit easier to mix, although inside of EG Pulse it does have its own mixing desk, and as you can see I've got lots of different levels set there for my different guitar parts. And down here at the bottom is where you tell EG Pulse which output bus you want to send stuff out on. So like you can see there, that's number 3 for the lead guitar. Let's go to the pads. Now I suppose you could consider my different little bits of guitar to be samples now, so let's just play some of those samples. So you can see these samples need to be triggered by LK. So let's just visit our burger icon for a moment, and you'll see there that EG Pulse is receiving MIDI information from LK on MIDI channel 18. So now we just go over to LK for a little visit, and here's channel 8, which is going out on MIDI channel 8 there, look. And let's have a look in this section here. If I just open up the piano roll, you'll see we've got MIDI information in here to trigger the different guitar parts. So let's just let that play so you can just have a little witness of how that works. Need to pull that down a little bit further. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, that is in fact pretty straightforward. Back to our new little demo project. Whilst making this video, Paul of 4Pockets released an update to MultiTrack, making it much more suitable for use with a clip launcher like LK. So let's use MultiTrack to add audio to this project. Alright, now just to speed things along, I've added a few things, so let me show you what we've got now. This was my guitar coming in here, so we can swipe that now. I've added MultiTrack here. When you add MultiTrack, by the way, for this purpose, you will need to select, let me just show you, from the 4Pockets list, you will need to select the MIDI version of MultiTrack. This one's not going to work for you. Okay. Now you'll see that I've got a second bus of MultiTrack so that I could mix my two guitar parts separately on the AUM faders. If we go into MultiTrack here, you'll see that I've got a 4-bar loop and an 8-bar loop. Now what we do to activate these separate loops to run alongside of a clip launcher is we have our loop engaged here and we have remote on, and if we press and hold on remote, what we can do, if we just drag that out of the way, now I'm gonna probably have to use my finger here because, oh no, the mouse is working for a change. Okay, I select the loop that I want and then I take a snapshot of it and I save it as loop 1, and you'll see that's highlighted in yellow now. And then I do a second one. Let's just move this point over here. This is a little tricky with the mouse, and over here. Now hang on a minute, that is where the note tails off, so I'll let it do the whole thing. I think that will work for us. Okay, and then I'm going to take a snapshot of that one and save it as number 2. Right, now other things we need to look at. We have got, oh yes, actually while I'm here, C3 MIDI note is going to trigger this one, and C#3 is going to trigger this one. If we use C3 and the octave above it, then what we get is a hard loop change. So as soon as LK sees that MIDI note and sends it to MultiTrack, MultiTrack is going to switch the loop from the one that's currently playing immediately to the one that you've just selected. If you use C4 or above, what it does is it prepares that next loop to be played once the current one is finished. So let's go out of here. Now you'll see that because I've got separate buses and I want separate guitar sounds, I've added effects here. I've got an Embrini amp here, and here we've got Mixbox. We've got 2 separate guitar sounds there, and this one's panned slightly to the left. Right, now I'm going to go to LK, and what I'm going to do, this is my guitar track. I should close this a moment and just show you. So I've added a track, and this is MIDI channel 5. I forgot to show you something. We need to go back. And next to if I go into my little burger icon here, right, MultiTrack is listening to LK, and actually I've forgotten to do something here, so let's just do that and put that to channel filter to number 5. Okay, now we'll go back to LK. So now I just need to go into my piano roll and add C3 here at the beginning of the bar where I want loop number 1 to play. So now if I press play, and I believe we have this clip selected already, are we? Let's just make sure we've got this clip ready to play and press play. So you see, that clip, that loop that I've selected is 4 bars long. So I've made this 4 bars long, and if we have a look at it in the piano roll, and then maybe we should have a look at it inside of MultiTrack as well. Let me just pinch this so you can just see the 4 bars. Right. And play. Okay, so now we want it to play the other part, but we need to set up a few things first. So we're going to go into LK, and let's just drag this piano roll down. Now I'm going to copy this scene. So duplicate scene. There we go. And in this next scene, I'm going to remove segments and remove that and leave a little room for the guitar melody that's going to play in loop 2. Right, now I'm going to go into guitar and switch out C1 for C sharp, C1, C3 for C3 sharp. Okay, right, and actually while I'm here, what I need to do is double the length of this part, because, and that's duplicated that note there, so I'm just going to remove that. I don't want that to make the loop start again. Okay, so now we've got an 8-bar loop for an 8-bar guitar part, so let's just launch that particular clip. In fact, let's really test this out. We'll launch the one before, and then we'll launch the new one. When I was first fooling around with LK and learning how to use it, the one thing that was bugging me was, how do I use this clip launcher to play me a song arrangement start to finish, so that I could just press play and it would play through the arrangement for me without me launching any scenes. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the scenes a bit clearer. So I'm going to press and hold on here, and you'll see I have the option here to rename this scene. But if you press properties, you have the option, if you select scene here, you have the option to rename it and give it a color. So I'm just going to do that, and I'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, so now effectively what we need to do is we need to get LK to listen to itself, to talk to itself using MIDI. So I'm going to hold down here on master and add track, and this is a track just for MIDI information. And let me just press on the little MIDI button. Alright, this is MIDI channel 6. So let's now go to the burger icon next to LK and tell it to listen to itself. I don't need that switched on, I don't know what that's about. Oh, I do, but it's not important. Okay, channel filter, MIDI channel 6. Right, now back into LK, switch that off, makes it less cluttered. Right, now up here I've got this part selected, so I'm going to drag up my piano roll and I'm going to create a part. Now I want this introduction to last for 4 bars, so I'm going to click here, clip properties, times 2, and that gives me 4 bars. Now if I ask LK to move on to the next scene, whenever I ask it to do that, it's going to do it after 1 bar. Look, trigger quantize. That means if I ask it to change scene, it's going to go another bar and then do it. You can change that here, but I like it set like this. This works for me. So in the last bar here, I'm going to insert a MIDI note. I'm going to use C3 here before the end of the last bar, but after the beginning of the last bar. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I have a MIDI note and it's C3. And now what I need to do is I want to tell LK to move to this scene once it hears that note, that C3. So we have to teach it to do that. So now we're going to have the first scene play and put MIDI learn on and just watch here. There we go. Right, now let's just do another one to prove a point. So I want this section here to run for, let's see now, we want that one to go for 4 bars. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go and create a pattern here, and I'm going to make this 4 bars long. And now I'm going to choose a different note. I'm going to use C sharp in the middle of the last bar, and then we want to move to this scene here when this scene has done 4 bars. So we go select this scene to play and press play, put MIDI learn on, select this scene and wait for it to pick up on that MIDI note. There we go. Right, now just stop a moment. Now let's select the first scene and see if that's all working as we want it to. Okay, you'll hear we've got some crackling going on there. That's because I'm using a Bluetooth mouse and because I'm screen recording. This project actually plays fine when I'm not doing that, so my apologies for any distortion to the audio. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on and add these MIDI notes for the rest of this little project. Okay, one last little thing I want to mention that I just learned just now is that MultiTrack wants to be playing a loop back all of the time. So unless I've slightly misunderstood it, it seems to, yes, you can launch different clips wherever and it works seamlessly, but what you need, the way I understand it, is one loop where there is nothing happening, which is what I did up here. I just set up a loop in MultiTrack that had no audio in it. So scene number 3 is actually just a couple of bars where there's no audio recorded, right? So I set that up here and I popped that in at the beginning of my LK project in scene 1 just here. So there's a MIDI note to trigger nothing, so that there is no loop until the loop I do want is triggered here. So what I need to do here is to copy this and paste it down here, and then what will happen is at the end of groove 1, all being well, the guitar will stop at the end of the repeat of groove 1, which is the end of the little demo, I should have said. There we are. So this turned out to be a super long video, and yet there's still so much that LK can do that I haven't even touched on. But I am going to be using this app in my workflow. I'm loving the app, so I'm happy to make more videos about it. If there's a particular feature that you'd like me to talk about, then just comment below the video and I will take care of that for you. I hope that I have successfully shown you how to use LK as a DAW inside of AUM. That sounded kind of funny saying it out loud, but if you have any questions at all, again, comment below the video, or if you prefer to reach me in any other kind of way, all my information is down below the video about how you can reach me, and you're very welcome to do so. So, until my next video, please take care of yourselves, be good, be kind, be hippie nice, make lots of music, and don't pissy pants about. I'll see you later.